Let's jump to this story from the Daily Mail. Quote, why did you ask such a dumb question? Biden snaps at reporter who asks him why he's referred to as, quote, the big guy in FBI Ukraine file.
It's obviously because I'm taking the money, idiot.
His quickest verbal moment while in office.
Yeah, right. It's the fastest he's ever responded. Oh, man, I've said this a million times before, but it was so pathetic the way the media was trying to position this man as a kind, caring adult, right? Oh, Trump's the nasty one and Biden's nice. No. Biden's nasty. He's just not funny like
his
Trump.
Kids are all super messed up. How could he not be that?
Let me give you this important context. They say the nickname was revealed in an FBI memo that Republicans claim proves Biden was at the center of a $5 million cash for influence bribery scheme when he was vice president. If the memo shows that their informant called Biden the big guy, I mean, that's corroboration. I would
say so. Yeah, I don't know how you get around that.
And that will be the example I used before of media omission. I guess we could pull up the sites right now, but I guarantee you on WashingtonPost.com, there's not a mention to that. On NewYorkTimes.com, there's just no mention of this memo. There's no mention of the big guy. They'll just ignore the story.
No, they're just going back and stealth editing old articles about Biden, being like, Biden, who gets colloquially called the big guy by everybody.
Who's called the big guy by his son.
By his son. It's
got
nothing
called hands
specific.
in high school, you know.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, so this is hilarious. I think the campaign was trying to get out in front of this because there was a little picture book published ostensibly for children about Joe Biden, and it mentioned his time in high school, and it says he was such a good football player and he'd always catch the ball, so they called him Hands. I'm like, that's not why they called him Hands. I think you just know that they were waiting for someone who went to high school with him to be like, we called that guy Hands. He was weird. I was good at football, man.
Biden besmirched the good name of Corn Pop.
Yeah, Corn Pop was a good dude who ran a bunch of good boys.
That story about Corn Pop, when Joe Biden talks about how he's at the pool and the kids are rubbing his legs, Corn Pop was probably like, stop touching those kids, dude.
Yeah.
No, he wouldn't get off the diving board.
I don't buy it. I think he was targeting those kids, and Corn Pop.
Look at what he says about his first wife's death. He says that the truck driver was drunk. He wasn't remotely drunk. He just made up that story to make his wife more sympathetic. He was drinking his lunch that day. The truck driver's family sued him for like a cease and desist because they said, like, our dad was not a drunk. Our dad wasn't drunk. It was a terrible car accident. A lot of people think maybe Mrs. Biden was the drunk one, but I guess that would be a autopsy they never had. But he has no problem besmirching the good name of individuals if it helps his career. He's not a good person. He's never been a good person.
Never.
He's a terrible person.
If you're the kind of person who doesn't mind being on camera groping children, I really don't think he's worried about lying.
Like, what is just sniffing children in public in front of everyone? Like, that's a disgusting, horrible thing to do. And then on top of that, to not have the self-awareness to know, like, hey, everyone's watching me while I'm doing this horrible, disgusting, freaky thing.
I feel like he doesn't care. He's like, I can get away with it.
My legs are hairy, man. I can do.
No, he's a very strange person.
Do you think he sniffs his legs ever because of the hair? He's got a thing for it.
I imagine that, like, when Corn Pop confronted Joe Biden and was like, you got to stop touching those kids, man. And then he grabbed the chain or whatever. He had a chain. Is that what he said?
No. So Bill Wright, Mouse, he was the only white guy in the air, and he did all the pools, and he brought me, showed me where all the mechanics, where all the pool filter is, and he cut me off a length of chain. There was a chain that went across the pool for the deep end, and he cut him off the chain, and he said, "You tell Corn Pop that if you may cut me, man, but I'm going to wrap this chain around your head, and if you don't tell him that, then don't come back." And he was right.
So Joe Biden.
These are the words of our president.
So Joe Biden's got a chain, and Corn Pop sees Joe Biden.
You memorized that speech very well.
Thank you. We animated it.
Kennedy's.
Thank you. That's the most famous presidential speech to me. It's like the Gettysburg Address.
So Corn Pop is confronting Joe Biden, who's abusing kids.
Yeah.
And then down the line, people actually take this story seriously, that Corn Pop's the bad guy. Knowing the history of Joe Biden, I am convinced that Corn Pop was probably a local kid who saw Joe Biden groping kids and said, yo, we're going to put a stop to this, him and his buddies. And he's like, there's a couple of bad dude with his bad boys. And it's like probably some local kids who are like, yo, this lifeguard keeps groping kids.
Yeah. Make a cartoon about what really happened. What really happened.
Was a good dude.
Ran
a bunch of good boys.
And one day. Seriously, though, make a cartoon of the true story of Corn Pop.
We did. And then we animated it.
But take the statement of him. Yeah, but Not Joe Biden's
Yeah, I
version of
know.
events.
It's not reliable.
The version where he's like, the kids are touching my legs and
What
whatever.
actually happened? Yeah.
And the guy's like, you better knock it off, Joe, you creepy hands. Hey, hands, stop groping those kids. They call me that because of football. What are you talking about?
catching footballs, man.
Hands, big guy Joe Biden.
I was dying because here's the thing: no one has alleged that he was called Hands before, and then they published this little picture book that says he was called Hands Biden in high school. I'm like, that is not why they called him Hands. It was not because he was good at catching footballs.
But this is ignoring.
because I made good food, man.
They're gonna write that as a child, Hunter. No, they're gonna say Bo Biden called him the big guy because then they're gonna make it like, don't insult his dead son.
You can't question Bo at all.
Bo, who died in Iraq.
That's right. Yeah.
Tragic.
Yeah, when people brought Hunter up to Joe, they were talking about his son. He's like, Bo was a great kid. Dude, if somebody started like bringing up bad things I had done to my father, like how do you speak? Like, how do you speak to the fact that your son does X, Y, and Z? And then he started like singing my brother's praises. I'd be like, oh, my dad must be really embarrassed of me.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think Joe Biden knows if he brings up Bo, he can deflect anything because people don't want to comment on that, right? He didn't want to talk about a
Joe just
veteran
says-
guy. He says the craziest.
No, he
and the
says
fact-
anything.
Do you remember when his daughter's diaries got leaked? And she just obviously is a
creepy.
very troubled person, and you have to wonder at what point did she become very troubled? As she and her brother both abuse a lot of drugs, they have very serious issues, and they both grew up in the same household. So it's almost like there was a bad influence in and around the household they grew up in.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how we can think Joe Biden is a good guy and just got really unfortunate with these two super privileged children
but-
who both are just train wrecks.
But nobody does. Nobody thinks he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Democrats are lying about everything.
True. That's true.
You know, it's like you talk to people on the right and they'll make fun of Trump. They'll say stuff like, what's the joke where Seamus, I think you made it, that Trump is like he's like got street cred because he's got 3 baby mamas or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, we did a cartoon on that. He has 3 baby mamas and a criminal record. Like the girls love him now.
Like people on the right have no problem pointing out they know these things about Trump. There are negative things about Trump, but there are reasons they like it. People on the left will defend literally anything Biden does.
Well,
no, I'm sorry. I should clarify that. Many leftists won't, but they'll still vote for him. I get that.
That's
but
just
there
Joe.
But there are liberals who, in the media, the corporate neo-libs are the ones I'm actually talking about, who no matter what he does, they will lie and defend him.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. People will talk about Donald Trump and they'll say, how could you Christians vote for this man who's behaved in such an unchristian way? Oh my goodness, I forgot all of these wonderful opportunities I have to vote for good Christians in politics who do good Christian things all the time. It's completely nonsense. Like, when was there ever this option of wonderful, virtuous people to pick from in American politics in my lifetime? There wasn't. You know what's great about Donald Trump? He doesn't hate me. He doesn't hate me like every other person I've had the opportunity to vote for does.
So you voted for people who hate you?
No, I didn't vote for those people because the first presidential election I was old enough to vote in was Trump versus Hillary.
Oh,
Yeah,
you voted
right.
Trump?
We don't have to talk about it. No, yeah, I voted for Trump. I voted for Trump.
Of all people, there's no way you voted Hillary.
Yeah, well, this was also back when I was still living in Cook County, right? So my vote wasn't going to do anything, but I still voted for him.
Yeah.
You weren't with her?
Believe it or not, I did think it was her turn.
That's
But I
true.
thought this is Cook County. My vote won't mean anything. So.
I really thought.
As a joke, you voted for Trump?
We joked
No,
in
I voted for him
16.
wholeheartedly.
I was still living in D.C. in 16, and we joked when the results came in and Trump had like 4,500 and something votes, and we were like, I bet you we know all of those people. we could do like 6 degrees of separation. Like, we could probably figure out who they are.
You're all at the same election night watch party, like, it's us, guys.
Well, so what do you think's going to happen? You think Trump gets the nomination, goes up against Biden, then wins, or what?
Oh, yeah. What do you? I'll let you make the prediction.
Yeah, well, I think Biden has I won't say if it's that cut and dry. I don't think it's going to be 2020 all over again because Biden has a record to run on. Ultimately, if you want to think I'm a conspiracy theorist lunatic, which I am, they have to find the COVID variant. by 2024.
But
they have to.
It can't be COVID. Bird flu.
Whatever it is, they have to go back to mail-in ballots. They have to go back to
Bird flu.
They have to. They can't win any other way.
Or
You don't think it's going to be a monkeypox surge?
it could be wildfires.
It could be something.
could be
Some pandemic has
weather.
to happen that they can control the balloting at the local level, because it's the only way he's going to win.
Something has to stop people from being able to have fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And there are just too many. And people are like, what about the suburban housewife? The suburban housewife is tired of paying $4.75 for a dozen eggs. And she doesn't like Trump, but she's really, really broke.
No, look, all that matters is the Republicans, political action committees, you name it, whether it's Trump or not. They're going to run ads of the trans activists bouncing their topless breasts at the White House.
Yeah.
And they're going to run those in the suburbs nonstop.
They have to.
And then suburban moms are going to be like, oh,
Yep.
no.
Yep. And calling those parents domestic terrorists.
Yep.
You know, that's the type of stuff. So if you're going to go after our kids, then we're going to use our kids to go after you.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.